Comparing the left and right ventricle by KayScience.com. I'm now going to explain why the left and right ventricles of the heart have a different thickness of muscle. So I'm drawing the heart here, and I'm drawing the left ventricle wall and the right ventricle wall. So the muscle of the left ventricle is thicker. So there's a thicker left ventricle, whereas there is a thinner right ventricle on the right ventricle of the heart. I'm now drawing the lungs, so to explain the differences. So these are the lungs. So as you can see here, the left ventricle pumps blood all the way around the body, so it needs to be thicker. Whereas the muscle of the right atrium needs to be thinner because it pumps blood a shorter distance only to the lungs, as seen here. The left ventricle muscle pumps blood all the way around the body, so it needs to be thicker to pump the blood further. It's question time. Attempt these questions to check your understanding. We're now going to go into more detail. So I'm going to colour in the left ventricle here. So as you can see, the left ventricle is much thicker than the right ventricle, which has a much thinner muscle wall. So there's a difference in width between the muscle walls of the ventricles. So this is the thicker left ventricle wall of the heart, and this here is going to be the thinner right ventricle muscle wall of the heart. So the left ventricle wall has a thicker muscle wall, whereas the right ventricle wall has a thinner muscle wall. So the left ventricle wall, which is thicker because it pumps blood around the body. So it pumps blood further around the body. So as you can see here, the left ventricle is pumping blood around the body. So it pumps with a greater force. So the left ventricle pumps with a greater force and therefore a higher blood pressure to pump blood around the body. Whereas the right ventricle wall is a thinner muscle wall because it only pumps blood to the lungs. So it needs to pump blood a shorter distance than the left ventricle does, so therefore it can be thinner. Remember, the right ventricle wall of the heart is a thinner muscle wall because it pumps blood a shorter distance to the lungs, so requires a lower force and lower blood pressure, whereas the left ventricle pumps blood all the way around the body, so requires a greater force and therefore a greater blood pressure. So remember, the right ventricle is thinner than the left, so it pumps blood with less force because it requires a lower blood pressure to only pump blood to the lungs. It's question time. Attempt these questions to check your understanding. Press pause to answer the questions. The answers are going to follow, and if you're stuck, just rewatch the video. Press pause to go through your answers and make any corrections to your mistakes. Visit KayScience.com to watch videos on other topics, to do practice question worksheets and multiple choice quizzes at KayScience.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe.